Let's now focus on the war on corruption. And anti-corruption detectives conducted simultaneous searches in the homes of 3 former top officials of the Ministry of Devolution and Planning, including the home of immediate former Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru. The Kenyan Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission said the detectives were looking for crucial evidence for the prosecution of a case against former Permanent Secretary Peter Mangiti and former NYS Director Nelson Githinji.
Shortly after 6:30 a.m., detectives from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission raided the city residence of former Devolution CS Anne Waiguru at Kihingo Village in Nairobi's Kitisuru area. For 6 hours, they would be held up here, searching for what they said was crucial evidence to unravel a conspiracy under which senior officials in Waiguru's former ministry attempted to steal 695 million shillings from the National Youth Service. Waiguru's lawyer, Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, said the raid was conducted in Waiguru's absence.
We were facilitating that process. They conducted the search. They went through everything, personal things, all kind of documents, kids' rooms. So they did a search, through and through. Yes, they took some documents. We gave them all the documents they need. And I think everybody's happy with the process. But, it's good to do a process when you believe in the process, not as a PR. Yes.
But as the detectives rummaged through Waiguru's residence behind this closed gate, other EACC officers simultaneously raided the city residences of former Planning PS Peter Mangiti, NYS former Director General Nelson Githinji, and that of his deputy Adan Harake. And although the EACC detectives struck at the same time across the 3 homes, Ahmed Nasir still insists that Waiguru is an innocent whistleblower who deserves commendation despite resigning late last month.
I've said all along, she's not accused of anything, but they wanted to search her house, probably to ensure, to satisfy themselves one final time, and that's what they did.
Does she feel intimidated by the process?
No. The only complaint we have is, when you're doing a search like this, you don't have to call the press, like they did with you guys. The first call I got this morning was my friends in the press that they're coming here.
This move by the EACC comes barely a day after the United States announced that it had blocked various high-profile Kenyan citizens from traveling to the United States over corruption allegations.
There are individuals who cannot go to the United States as a consequence of involvement in corruption. I will not go into specifics or names right now, but obviously the United States is committed to doing everything it can to support the fight against corruption here in Kenya.
President Uhuru Kenyatta sent home 5 cabinet secretaries that had been previously accused of corruption last week, while Waiguru stepped down citing personal health concerns and requested President Kenyatta to assign her lighter duties.
If they are serious, let them charge people, let them prosecute. If they have a good case, let them do conviction. But these PRs, Kenyans will ask them at the end of the day, what's on the table? What have you done the last 5 years? And that is the biggest problem facing this government.
But Waiguru's former ministry has been on the spot since the news first broke that 791 million shillings had been siphoned from the NYS through dubious payments during the slum upgrade project, a project which was the brainchild of Waiguru herself. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
So Kenya's opposition leader Raila Odinga claims that the government cannot account for over 100 billion shillings from the Eurobond. Raila says the government books regarding the Eurobond do not balance and figures have been cooked to tally. The opposition leader has therefore written demand letters to banks involved in the Eurobond. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich and his Principal Secretary Kamau Thuge demanding an audit of the Eurobond transactions. Raila says the parties have 14 days to respond.
From the reviews It is clear to us that the greatest case of theft in Kenyan history is either underway or has already been concluded in one fell swoop in the name of the Eurobond. The government books regarding the Eurobond do not balance. Indeed, it is now clear that official accounts have been cooked and continue to be cooked. Some of them are up on the Treasury's website, so it's no secret. The statement of government cabinet secretaries, the principal secretaries, and other officials contradict each other. At the very least, the government cannot account for over 140 billion shillings. You can't misplace $1 billion, however rich or reckless you are. Even a billion shillings is hard to misplace. It's not pocket money. Even if it had been spent in Kenya, you would have felt it. Instead, the economy today is contracting. We have dispatched demand letters to all local and foreign institutions that were involved in the Eurobond saga to demand very specific answers. The answers we are seeking on each of the institutions are clearly spelled out in the letter to each of them.
Opposition leader Raila Odinga there raising concerns about the Eurobond that amounts to $1 billion. Raila Odinga there saying that he has not received sufficient explanation on how or where that money is, saying it looks like the figures are being cooked, and the explanation that is being given by different officials from several government ministries just does not make sense. And of course, he gave 14 days to the relevant individuals, authorities to respond to his concerns, and Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich has actually responded to that. As a matter of fact, he has invited Raila Odinga to come for the information on the sovereign bond and he has also asked the media to be present as well. Let's move to the next board on that statement by CS Henry Rotich, and as a matter of fact, he's invited CORD leader Raila Odinga to go and get the information on Friday this week. We are keeping an eye on that for you. The CS says the Controller of Budget and the Auditor General have confirmed that all proceeds of the sovereign bond have been fully accounted for. Remember, CORD leader Raila Odinga says the explanations just do not make sense, and according to him, those figures have been cooked. So the CS goes on to say, we have nothing to hide. The proceeds from the Eurobond were applied prudently, productively, and lawfully. Let's see if the CORD leader Raila Odinga will come to the same conclusion when he gets to meet the CS on Friday. The CS has asked him to go to his office and sort of try and see if he can get the answer that he's looking for on that bond that is $1 billion. Let's see how that goes. We'll keep an eye on that for you, even as the CORD leader goes on to meet the Treasury Cabinet Secretary. Great. So let's go to matters of corruption in Kenya now. And several activists were today arrested as they attempted to make their way to State House, Nairobi, to present a petition against corruption. The activists were tear-gassed as they approached State House Road before being arrested. KTN's senior reporter Rita Tinina has more.
It started as a peaceful protest against corruption. The demonstrators' agenda to present a petition to the Chief Justice and to the President calling for wealth declaration by public officers. From the Freedom Corner, they marched through city streets to the Supreme Court. Here, they were lucky. They got the attention of Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga, to whom they presented their petition.
To deal with corruption effectively, all state and senior public officers must declare their wealth and undergo public vetting. More importantly, the wealth declaration must be made publicly available.
I'll be one of those people who will declare their wealth, if you want to know. Okay. I can give my own declaration. I don't think that's, I think that's a legitimate demand from Kenyans based on the Constitution, because we are supposed to be accountable, we are supposed to be transparent.
But the next leg of the protest was not as successful. At the State House Road junction, police were waiting. The activists tried to argue their case. The police would hear none of it. And when the demonstrators failed to move from the area, several demonstrators, including Boniface Mwangi, were arrested, but were later released.
Why are we being arrested for fighting corruption? Why are we being arrested for fighting?
Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Tomorrow, the Kenya National Assembly will begin the vetting process for nominees to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Parliament will also vet afresh serving cabinet secretaries that were transferred to new dockets. The Kenya National Assembly this evening rejected an amendment by the Attorney General that proposed to shield public officers reappointed to new positions from revetting exercise.
Tuesday last week, President Uhuru Kenyatta made his first big cabinet shuffle since assuming power in April 2013. The president announced 7 fresh nominees to the cabinet, including 3 politicians. The fresh nominees are Mwangi Kiunjuri for devolution and planning, Kericho Senator Charles Keter for energy and petroleum docket, Willie Bett for agriculture, Dr. Cleopa Kilonzo Mailu for health, Cecily Kariuki for public service, youth and gender affairs, Malindo opposition MP Dan Kazungu for mining, and Joe Musheru for ICT. Ahead of the shuffle, the Attorney General had proposed to amend the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011 through an omnibus bill to make a distinction with regard to the approval procedure as it applies for reappointments. The Attorney General wanted the approval procedure not to apply to reappointments except in cases where there have been formal complaints on performance or integrity on the part of the proposed appointee. But in a rude shock, members of the National Assembly voted to reject the proposal. What this effectively means is that cabinet secretaries transferred to new dockets must be vetted afresh. Consequently, Najib Balala was transferred from mining to tourism, will be vetted afresh by Parliament. The same applies for James Macharia, who was moved from health to transport and infrastructure. Others affected are Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who was moved from the Ministry of ICT to Education. Professor Jacob Kaimenyi was moved to lands. Kaimenyi had a frosty relationship with teachers' unions over welfare issues while serving as Cabinet Secretary for Education. In July this year, Professor Kaimenyi survived a censure motion after the opposition coalition failed to marshal 1/3 of lawmakers to move the motion to the next stage, where MPs would have picked an 11-member committee to investigate his conduct and possibly force President Uhuru Kenyatta to sack him. In the shuffle, President Uhuru Kenyatta nominated Dr. Monica Juma, Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Prior to that, she was serving PS Interior. In June this year, the National Assembly rejected nomination of Dr. Monica Juma to serve as Secretary to the Cabinet in line with recommendations of the Committee on Administration and National Security that had vetted her. Dr. Monica was to replace Francis Kimemia, who had been suspended. Speaker of the National Assembly is here to table names of the nominees of the Cabinet shuffle to kickstart the vetting process. Patrick Amimo, KTN News.